Mm-hmm.
Okay. The first item she has on there is this now to whole group resume workshop, Margaret, you're suggesting, or have we, because I know we have already done some and haven't had a huge amount of participation.
And what's the question?
The group resume workshop, you have it outlined there, one of the baseline criteria. Are you asking, has anybody done that so far, or is that something that we should do and set a number to of how many people we should shoot for?
So it's documenting, it's things that we're looking at as baseline criteria. You know, have they done group resume workshops, group interview workshops?
So you're basically asking who's done it.
Yes, and so in this session, we're just identifying if people think that these should be included as baseline criteria that we should all be documenting.
Okay.
Instead of,
so we'll just,
this is Rachel. I was thinking that instead of workshop, we could just call it presentation.
Sure.
My student navigator goes into classrooms and gives presentation.
well, but does that take away from the option of actually doing resume workshops with students? Because I know Beth has done one where she had 3, but they came in and actually did they worked on their resumes together. Gave them an outline. That's what that's being. Hey, Maria. Hello? Anybody out there?
I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
The only thing about the employment services is that I just want to say we have a professional development course that's part of their curriculum, so everyone's forced to take it.
So I think that you would be covered there, Maria.
Yeah.
That would be your, and maybe we can choose a word that's most inclusive. Group resume.
Presentation.
Training. Maybe. I wonder if training would be the most inclusive.
Yeah.
Because that could be a presentation, a workshop.
Right. Well, what about using the professional development workshop that Maria just said? I mean, that kind of is all inclusive as far as resumes, internships, dress, all of the things that come into play when, yes, no, maybe?
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, because then I think at that point, if people wanted individual work on their, what are you doing, Maria? You're dancing all over the place in there.
I'm sorry. Am I distracting? I just ran in from the rain.
First time I get you putting your shoes on, taking them off, and then I disappeared.
My shoes are actually off. I got stuck and I've been sitting on a ball, and then I'm not high enough, so.
That's so funny. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I like the idea of putting it out there, having a group professional development workshop, because that really does then give the facilitator the option to do whatever the majority of the people in the class would need, or the workshop would need, whether it's resumes, interview, mock interviews. I mean, there's so many different facets of preparing them.
So as long as it includes presentations, I think it would be fine.
Okay. So could we kind of combine then, you think, the first 3, the resume workshop, interview workshop, and LinkedIn workshop, all as professional development workshops? Does that make sense?
This is Debbie. I think I would call it job search skills training.
Yeah.
Job search skills training. Okay, I mean, that works for me too.
And Debbie, since we're fortunate to have you on the call, how granular would you like to see this?
Well, It seems to me that the actual medium that you're using to provide the skill is something that could vary widely across colleges, but that the content is what you might like to see. You know, is everybody providing training on how to prepare resumes? Is everybody providing training on interviews? Is everybody assisting in supporting the actual job search process?
So in that case, would we go back to listing them out?
Yeah, I think, well, if it seems to me that what's more important is variation in the topics covered, not variation in the actual medium by which they're provided. Format, yeah.
I just want to add something because I think we've already gone through this. So we have our professional development course where we actually go through resumes, cover letters, you know, how to even ask for them, to reference sheets, and that's a class thing. But we have also had offered for the students that just graduated a job search. Like we set up times while they were on their practicum. Let's go through job search and your application process for one-on-one. We've had it a computer lab reserved, so we could talk to a group if they wanted to, or if they needed one-on-one individualized help going through the application process. The biggest thing with us right now as far as medical assistants, and we're spending a great deal of time on, is the new laws and just getting the students to apply for their interim certification so they're able to work. So as far as the licensing and all that stuff, we kind of do it in both areas. We come into the professional development class, plus we have to do it one-on-one because they have to actually come out with their own checks and money orders and who to make that out to. I don't know if that helps.
Well, I mean, I think it does. I think that whether we call it job search skills or professional development, I mean, that's something we can vote on at a certain point. But I think we all agree the same criteria need to be under that, which is the resumes, the cover letters, the reference sheets is good too, because a lot of people don't even think about how to put together their references and put them on a resume. And then the job search, absolutely, application process. I think all of that could be kind of lumped together either under professional development or job search skills. And then I think we need a second baseline for the one-on-one, like you're saying. I think there are certain people, some people, you give them that basic professional development and they take it and run with it, where others are still standing there and they're going to need the more one-on-one. And we need to be able to give them that, which is what our student navigators, I mean, that's what we have these people on staff for. So why wouldn't we make that an option? So could we agree that we could break that into two kind of subgroups? One is the group together workshops, and then a one-on-one offering, or however you want to state it. People of the group.
This is Michelle from Bellevue College. Maybe I would suggest that you don't break it out, but that you require that when people list the type of event that they had, if they mention if it's a group event, a single event. I personally would like to know how much time is involved as well, because it's one thing if you go to a classroom and spend 5 minutes or, you know, an hour or half an hour about the topic. It's something else if you have a workshop in that that's like a half day. So you may not want to separate them out, but ask people when they report out to be specific about the format, the venue, and the length of the training.
Right. Yeah, so do you think that would vary from campus to campus? Because, I mean, it really depends. Like, when we invested it, she set aside 3 hours one day, and they were able to bring in their resumes, and she worked with them on whatever it is that was specific to what they needed that day. I mean, I guess it would depend on what each campus has or what student navigator or instructional support specialist, whoever's working with that group, how much time they have, and like you said, where they're able to meet, all of those things would play into that. But I think that would be individual to each campus. Agreed?
Hi, this is Esther. I would really hate to lose the separation between types of training. I don't want to lump them together. So I like separate for resumes, interviews, social media, that kind of thing.
And even if there's a workshop or a presentation that covers all three, then all three boxes get checked.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're doing a group workshop and you're doing it in a presentation format, you would have to do it that way, right? Even though some people may not need portions of it, you would still cover that regardless, and they can tune out for that piece. Yeah, then the one-on-one workshops become when they have specific issues or, you know, focuses. They want to focus on the resume or their social media and stuff like that. Am I restating what you said, Esther, to a certain extent?
I think so.
So it sounds like we have two categories with several subcategories. Job search skills group training, job search skills one-on-one, and then under that we have the ones listed here, plus we had another addition, it sounded like from Maria, actual, what was the term you used, Maria?
Well, it has to do with, it's like, yeah, well, we do that too with the professional thing. It's just I'm thinking, like for us, as far as the group one, it's a 5-credit professional development course that we do all these things. So, I mean, like if you wanted to spell it out, but it's like I'm thinking nursing and many of the groups in the allied health field, they probably have these other protocols that they have to go through as far as like examination and all those other things that you want to check off.
Right, and like here, I know a lot of the people are looking for federal jobs, and that the whole U.S. government application process is completely which that alone could require 8 hours. That could be an 8-hour workshop in itself.
So we add that fourth topic, application process.
I think so, yeah, because I think you could get a lot from that, and then at that point, if you needed breakout sessions or more one-on-ones for people, you know, who are doing the U.S. government, U.S. jobs, what is it, U.S. government jobs, whatever.com. It's a horrible process, but to have somebody to be able to walk you through it would make a lot of these people a lot more successful and actually even getting to some interviews to have the job.
Well, even if we're talking about the CAHIM and going through the process of taking the test, of getting registered, and going through that whole system, that should all kind of fall under employment services provided and as far as like professional certification. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. That's part of that whole application process that we can add that to.
And I think whatever is relevant to each college can fall under application process.
Exactly. All right. Well, I feel good about that. Does anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I feel like we're making progress. Yeah, because we could do the groups and the one-on-one, which is great. Which actually kind of brings us down to the employer outreach activities. I'm not really sure what you mean there, Margaret. Can you enlighten me?
Sure. Any activities that establish relationships with prospective employers of the students?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about what we're doing to reach out.
Yes. And I didn't break that down into subcategories because if it gets too complicated, nobody will measure it or track it. So I just left that one general. So that could include attending professional association meetings, scheduling appointments with HR directors at local healthcare facilities, etc.
Right.
What about joining professional membership?
Right. like the county, we joined the chamber and those type of things to do a lot of networking for our students. I think, again, it kind of goes back to each college is going to have different places they're going to want to focus based on which programs they're using and what their students are actually looking to go into.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Does anybody have the capacity to to allow employers to post available jobs either on a bulletin board or on a database?
NOVA does. We have on each floor by each dean's office, there's boards out there that people can post current jobs in their medical offices. Like the dental hygiene has one, the medical assisting does, phlebotomy does. So yeah, NOVA does.
I think
that sounds like it's another flavor of employer involvement, employer outreach.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think most colleges have something similar.
Mm-hmm.
But it usually takes more than that to achieve employment for students.
Well, it actually takes the students actually reading it and following through on it, as I have found.
Yes.
That. Right. Does Washington State have the SkillSource offices?
Yes, we call them OneStop, WorkSource. Yes.
You do? Okay, because, I've recently been there just to meet with the directors of those, and I was blown away by how many resources they have for people who are unemployed. I find it very difficult to believe that somebody really wants a job in this area, but they can't find one because there were millions of them posted there. So
you weren't there,
making a connection with them.
You weren't there seeking employment, were you, Tony?
No, ma'am. No, not me. No. There's not many of, I think I was counting today, I started out with 4 or 5, I'm going backwards. My group is not growing, it's getting smaller. So, which is most unfortunate because my old boss said to me, what's the common denominator, Tony? I had a vote of confidence. Anyway, but no, I was not looking for a job. But at least I know where to go if I need one. Okay. So that,
do we want to do a hand raise on the previous one, the 2 categories with the breakouts on each one?
No, I prefer a dictatorship, and I've already decided that that's yes, we absolutely can. So I'm sorry. It's my first time here, so let's go backwards. And let's do a show of hands for if everybody's in agreement with the job search skills title and breaking them into groups and one-on-one. You want to break them down? You want me to vote on 2 separate ones, Margaret, or all together?
I don't think we need to.
Okay, so all together, and we all agree that under the group, so would be the basics will be resume, cover letters, references, application process, and that's it. Am I missing something?
I don't think so. So
okay.
Let's see. Cindy? I don't know if Cindy is still with us.
No, I'm not seeing her. She's gone.
Okay, and Greg?
Are we voting now?
We are. And then we may as well continue to vote and vote for the general employer outreach activities.
Sure.
And we all include whatever is relevant for our students.
Okay. What is that annoying noise?
It's coming from my brain, Tony.
I was always suspicious you were a robot, and now it's confirmed. Okay, so did we actually get a vote? Because I don't see the hand.
We did.
So,
we
okay,
did.
so I'm the only one raising my hand still. Okay, so we're good with that above, and then we're going to vote on the employer activities outreach.
Yep, and you can just leave your hands up if that one is okay with you. All right, we have another unanimous vote.
Fantastic. All right. What we got next? Look, your bullet points aren't that scary after all, Margaret. Description of employee, oh no, we already read that. Number of intern sites, ooh. I don't like any of that part here. Okay, so again, are you looking for what we currently have in place, how people are going to go about developing internships? Because that's what I'm looking at right now.
I think just number of sites available.
Currently?
Yes.
Ew.
And then the idea is we set the baseline now, and then we look in the future, we revisit these and see where we are.
Okay, so shall I just go through each person?
This is Lynette. I have a quick question. Is that okay?
Sure.
Can you hear me? My question, when you say sites available, do you mean how many employers do we have in our area that hire these people? Or do you mean actual places that our current programs have contracts with, or?
That you actually have formal internship agreements with.
Okay.
It's my thought, but people may have other perspectives on this.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's good because I think it's one of those things that we all need to grow a little bit. I mean, I'm just only talking about NOVA. I know we are in dire need of more internship sites. Lynette,
same here.
Yeah. Lynette, do you happen to know how many you have currently available at your campus?
Well, if I break it down by program, I don't know how many we have for radiology tech. For nursing, we have 50. And for computer networking, I don't know. Now, when I say 50, I don't mean that we've used them all. I just mean we have contracts with them.
Right.
And then for computer networking, they don't have a set, like here's your quarter of internship. They do different projects, and so I need to talk to them a little bit more about what kind of student experiential experience they have, because for our health IT, the final class the students take, we'd like to involve a practical component. So I'd like to see who they already have and then add more health IT specific sites as well.
Okay. Hey, I have an idea, Margaret and Patricia, and tell me if you're okay with this. Instead of going through each individual person right now and asking them that question, why don't we kind of make that like a homework assignment that people, because if I don't know off the top of my head exactly how many, so I would have to go and find that information anyway, that everybody, within the next week or so gets back to me on how many current internship sites that they currently have and are active. Does that sound like a good way to go about that? Because then we can revisit that next time around.
I think it would be interesting to know, in terms of just establishing the baseline criteria, though, at this point we haven't developed any timelines for gathering the information, gathering and reporting it.
Okay, so you want to go through each person individually then?
No, we don't need a report out. We just need to establish what we're going to be collecting information on. We don't need the actual information. Does that make sense, Tony?
No, not at all.
Okay, so we're trying to figure out, when we're looking at improvement, we have to have a starting point. So we have to collect this baseline. We have to identify what we're all going to collect so that at a future time we can look at improvement. So the purpose of this little exercise is just to come to agreement on what we're going to collect, not to actually collect the info right now.
Okay, I'm still totally confused. I may have to, because I'm assuming how I'm looking at it is that we want to establish a baseline criteria for the number of internship sites that we have, correct?
Yes.
Well, we haven't decided that. We haven't voted yet.
Oh, okay. don't we all think that that would be something that we would want to do?
I know, I think so, obviously, since I wrote it, but,
I think my light bulb just went on. Yes, I think the internships are definitely something that should be looked at and become a baseline. So let's go ahead and vote on that now since Tony's with everybody.
I just want to say, I personally, I don't want that. The only reason is because it's such a moving target for our internship sites, because so it's guaranteed that our students are placed. If they get hired on at that site, there may not be internship sites available at that site. So it's a moving target. It constantly changes for us. So, and right now, I think we have like this mega list of who needs medical assistance, and then you find out that some places are kind of combining. So, for example, like Valley, if they have several different clinics, that's only one contract, but they may be covering 10 different sites. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
yes.
So you don't want to raise your hand on those, right? Is that what you're saying? You don't want internships to be part of the baseline criteria for employment.
I think we need to have it broken down in a different way, maybe as far as like how many students were actually placed at a site, or
Well, we have that too.
Instead of
That's
looking-
actually the next criterion.
okay. So it's
So Maria, your concern is that it's because there's so much flux, it's going to make the program look like it's getting worse because the number of internship sites may drop. Is that what the concern is?
yeah, part of it is because not only, so we may get an increase on internship sites because the site may be looking to hire a medical assistant, and if they actually hire our medical assistant, the next quarter, that site might not be available.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It does.
It does. This is Patricia. I just want to come back to the reason for the criteria that we're establishing, which is not for reporting purposes, not for statistical purposes, but rather really to provide a baseline of discussion for continuous improvement. I mean, literally for discussion for continuous improvement. So it's not like the Department of Labor is holding a scorecard up on this. It's literally for us to talk about. So we don't have to think much about statistical validity or variance. Does that make sense?
It does. So it's not a this is going to make us look bad sort of thing.
No, it's really a reality check, and so that we can exchange best practices and hold each other up. I think. I mean, not hold each other up, but I mean in a good way.
Yeah.
Right?
This is Debbie. If I were suggesting a different metric, it would be something like the availability of the program to provide internships to all or some, or, a certain percentage of all students in the program. I don't know if that would make more sense because larger programs will have more internships and smaller programs will have fewer internships available.
So Debbie, what would the actual measurement be? Would that, because availability, I'm not sure how we would measure that.
Well, that's what the measure that we're looking at right now is how many are available, isn't it?
Well, we've defined it as the sites that the colleges have a formal agreement, internship agreement.
Yeah. So is the issue, this is just a question, is the issue whether you can place all students who want internships in internships, or whether internships is a required part of the curriculum, or what's exactly the issue here in the quality of the program?
It's a good question.
It's just an indicator, right? It's got a connection with employers?
Yeah, I mean,
Industry.
internships are a powerful vehicle in terms of employment. If a student works out well, the likelihood that they'll be employed is often pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
This is Michelle again. Could another measure be the percentage of students who want internship and who get one?
That's the kind of thing I was thinking.
Internship and get one?
Oh.
So the percentage of students who are served, if you will, percentage of students who get an internship from the pool of students who did want one.
I think it's an interesting measure. I'm just thinking of the practical realities of finding out and tracking which students want an internship. And maybe it's...
I assume they would come to you to find an internship, but maybe I'm wrong in that.
Well, they would come to you, but then how do you decipher how many didn't come to you? Because aren't you saying?
Well, I mean, it would be just the one who come to you requesting an internship, and how many can you get an internship out of those?
Yeah.
Because if they get an internship of their own, then that's sort of out of your hands in a way.
Margaret, this is Donna. I have a question.
Hi, Donna.
Hi. I see that I understand the value in this, but I guess I'm trying to obviously play it in my own head for my campus or college. Our students won't do an internship till after they're completed the grant certificate because it becomes part of their next degree. So, so I guess I'm thinking as you're wording this, therefore I would always be submitting 0, because of the grant certificate itself. So is there another way to kind of, I guess I'm kind of maybe thinking on what Michelle's saying, that, do we want to track how many students want an internship? Because in that case, then I can give you numbers of how many people I'm planning on placing in internships. But
yeah.
But I wouldn't be able, if it's just for our certificate, which is the grant base, then I would always send you a no, and I don't think that would be any value added to you. So I guess I do have to kind of ask the question, maybe even with the rest of the colleges, how many of them is an internship required? And if it's not required in anybody, then how can we reword it so that you're getting value added for collecting a statistic about internships?
Yeah. Well, should we get it would be great to hear from the group on Michelle's suggestion of documenting how many students who wanted internships had them available.
And then we can just word it that way, like kind of combine those two insights, internships available and placements internships. That would just kind of become one. Or just really scrap the first one?
I suppose so.
Yeah, and vote on, so let's vote to say that we will one of our baseline criteria will be how many students seeking internships will actually place.
Uh-huh.
Am I saying that correctly, Michelle? Okay, so then we go ahead and make our hands, we all agree that one of the baseline criteria will be that, in fact, students seeking internships actually
are we talking about employers here, or are we talking about the students? Or are we talking about partnerships with employers?
I'm talking, my thought was that we're talking about students placing internships with possible employers. Spinning everybody around. Why is it always on Matthew? What did you do, Matthew?
Margaret doesn't like the spotlight.
He's younger than we are, Tony.
I was going to say I'd be flattered because, they keep putting it on you.
My window of opportunity to be on camera has long passed.
Okay, that's totally distracting us from what we're trying to do here. I'd like to see on past people. Maria, what was your question again?
So I'm confused because are we looking at students being replaced? Are we talking about partnerships with industry? Are we talking about what exactly are we trying to have a number for? Like when you say sites, are we talking about, is it students being placed at sites? So in other words, there's two things. We have industry partners and then we have the students themselves. Would the students themselves fall into this category?
That's how I'm understanding it, unless I'm misunderstanding, which is entirely possible. My understanding, Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about students who are currently in the program or on the verge of exiting the program, are seeking internships and are there for placement. We want to know. That would be a baseline.
And okay, what happened to the first question, the number of internship sites?
We scratched that one. We don't like that one because we didn't like it. Remember? You said you didn't like it.
All right. I missed something there.
Stop bouncing on your ball and pay attention. Okay. So is everybody clear? Sorry, Patricia, I can see you. Hey, you guys are the ones who wanted me to be in charge of that.
We like you being in charge.
Can we please have a show of hands if everybody is in agreement that that will be one of our baseline criteria? Please.
Wait. Can I have a read back on what we're voting on?
No. Greg, it is if that the baseline one of the baseline criteria will be the number of students who are seeking internships actually get placed into an internship.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. And if you don't like it, yeah. Okay.
So let's see. Greg has his hand raised.
This is Donna.
I know.
Greg, Lynette, Maria, Rachel, Rob, and Esther has a hand raised. Debbie. Rob and Donna, are you a no vote on this one?
This is Donna. I guess I'm just still struggling a little bit. Not that I have a problem with collecting statistics on internships. I would always be entering 0 because it comes after my grant part of the program. So I'm just trying to figure, is that going to be value added to y'all if you have a college that's always sitting in 0s?
It's only for discussion purposes.
Yep. As Patricia just mentioned, just a reminder that it's just for discussion.
Right.
So you're not going to be, dinged in some way or.
Yeah. Well, and I understand that. So I just was trying to figure out, do we still need to reword it another way that I can contribute numbers to, to the baseline data that's meaningful, but right this minute, just the way it's worded and stuff, it would always be 0s. So
I mean, could we not consider, Margaret, Michelle, the fact that Donna is going to, obviously her students are going through the program, they're completing it, and then they're being placed in internships, they're seeking internships. Why couldn't we count them?
In my case, it would be after the grant part of our degree, because our certificate is embedded in an associate degree, and they're not employable until after they finish the associate, not the certificate. And
you could count them later.
Yeah, and so I guess that's the question. If we can count them later, then
sure. Then, I don't see why not.
Well, because if you count, and I was just saying, if you look down further, Donna, we're going to get to a point where, where we're considering baseline criteria. That they go into after they graduate.
I'm sorry, that crackled a lot. I didn't hear what you're saying.
I'm sorry. Are the internships, when your students graduate and they go into the ones that they're placed into, are they paid or not?
We haven't had our first group graduate yet, so we don't know.
Okay, well, because I mean, you may be able to count them later on in a different baseline criteria. I mean, again, you're not gonna be an anchor on this if you have a 0 for the first one. So for the majority, everybody has agreed that we could use that as a criteria, correct? Bellevue folks who can see the hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tony, what did?
I said, so we can then go ahead and put that as one because the majority of people agree that would be right. I'm just making sure that we're all on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
Percentage or the number? Where are we at? All right.
Number.
So about 15 minutes. So now we're looking at number of students employed within 3 months of graduation versus number of students employed with 3 months of graduation in their field. I personally don't see a whole lot of benefit to using just the fact that they got a job after they graduated as a baseline, because them going off and working at Starbucks doesn't mean that what we've given them is beneficial. I think personally that I think it would need to be specific to the field of study that they were. That's just my personal opinion.
I do think some of these things we're already going to be collecting with the annual employment data capture. So after 3 months and 6 months, and then I believe that most of you are collecting if they're employed in their field of study.
So the field of study is part of the annual reporting, or no?
The field of study isn't a requirement.
Okay.
They can be, unfortunately, employed in any field, but I think that's something that we wanted to have for ourselves as an aside.
So basically you're saying...
So it sounds like since we're already collecting number of students employed, just any kind of job within 3 months of graduation and 6 months, we can cross those off because we're already collecting those elsewhere.
That. We won't have individual, you wouldn't be able to recall Joe Smith and what did he go and do. We would just have aggregate numbers on that, but we would have that.
Okay. Well then, dang, we bang that all out. We can just remove that. Yes? Yes, Tony, we can. Excellent. Okay, so Lynette wanted to, do we need to vote on that, Margaret?
Maybe if anyone has any, how about if anyone has any objections to measuring number of students employed in their field of study? Doesn't look like there are any objections.
Okay. So we will take those off. And then that just leaves us with the last agenda item, which I believe it was Lynette, Margaret, correct me if I'm wrong, that suggested there be sort of increased efficiency in gathering consortium-wide information. What specifically are you talking about there? Because I know, we can find out a lot about one another on the website. What types of information are you specifically looking for?
So this is Lynette. I wasn't actually looking for any information. I was more, I feel like as a project manager, we get a lot of requests for information from different people, and sometimes it's the same. And so it'd be just nice if not only, I know there's a lot of information on the website for us, all the different colleges to share about each other, but then, we're getting requests from curriculum people, requests from like to put things on other people's websites, requests about PLA, requests about activities, requests about participants, and I don't mind passing that on, but it doesn't, sometimes it seems like I'm sending the same information to various people, and I'm just wondering why people can't talk to each other, I guess. I don't know if other people are feeling that they're getting a lot of information requested from them, but I just feel like I send a lot of duplicate information that is always just in a very slightly template, so I'm refilling out the same thing a couple times. And then, you know, we end up sending a lot of information at the end of each quarter anyway, so I don't know if anyone else feels this way. I just thought maybe it's something we could talk about.
Is anybody in agreement with that? I mean, I do.
Oh, especially with the curriculum development stuff in the beginning, having those all 3 approval forms and all that stuff, it was like repeat, repeat, repeat. And I didn't understand why the same information had to go into the same word form over and over again for the same stuff. So.
Yeah, that does seem to be, that comes up, I mean, I know that came up here a lot. I don't know, Brooke's not on the call, but Margaret, I suppose, about that.
Right, and there, it has to do with dissemination primarily. So there were 3 forms, and one form was fairly brief, and it's the approval process, so we asked for information like, you know, what kind of input did you get from industry and that sort of thing. So that's the first form. And then the other 2, one is an overview document, a curriculum overview document, and then the other one is the details of the instructional content. So
those forms weren't too bad. I mean, I didn't think those had too much overlap, and they were targeted differently and maybe spread out enough that it wasn't as obvious. But then on top of those forms, we were asked information about our programs for EMR STAR purposes, for putting on a website purposes, for purposes of I don't know what else. And it's more those kinds of smaller things, not the bigger required forms that we fill out.
Yeah, Lynette, this is Patricia. Point well taken. And this is a great venue for us to talk about that, continuous improvement. So we want to hear this, and we will definitely at Bellevue bear this in mind and talk amongst ourselves about that. There's one aspect that probably, as an individual co-grantee, it would be hard to imagine, but the consortium in aggregate looks, it's a very shifting picture. Programs, personnel, and all kinds of individual grantee details are changing all the time. So we never try to assume that we have a current snapshot within just a week or 2. Things are changing all the time. And while that may not be the case, you know, at your location, it is certainly the case in others. So it's kind of in a way, I can understand being on the receiving end of some of this. It might seem a little onerous, but for us, it is truly a quality control check. But thank you for bringing it up. And again, point very well taken. We'll bear this in mind, definitely. Thank you.
I mean, I could suggest that all the PMs get together like once a month and we could just complain about all the paperwork that we have to turn in. I think that would make us all feel better. Because bravo, Lynette, because I had never brought that up. I'm impressed. But it is a lot. I mean, and I understand that everybody's using it for kind of different purposes, and I can appreciate that. On the different grants that I've worked on, you know, we were giving it to all different people. But at a certain point, yeah, and again, and everything's always evolving and changing, so I can appreciate what you're all trying to do, but you're so good. I'm thinking you should be able to streamline it. Okay, so before I jump under my desk to plug in my computer, which is about to die, I was just thinking we've pretty much come to the...
Uh-oh. I think we just lost Tony. I think her computer... Uh-oh. Yes, and she's... Tony?
She's down on the bottom still. Well, it's 5 o'clock in Virginia. It's time to go home. That's true. Well,
everyone, I think we've lost Tony, at least
That's one
by
way to end the
audio.
meeting, right?
Masterful facilitation. It's 2 minutes before the hour, and Tony managed to work through every single thing on the agenda.
Let's hear it for Tony. How do we decide who's the
Tony is it for the
facilitator
quarter.
next time?
Tony has it for the whole quarter.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yay, Tony.
I was going to say we should vote Tony again, but I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Yeah, so Tony will be leading us the next 2 months. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.